This is the first part in a series about the medical industry in the United States. Now, many of you are wondering who the biggest criminals are in America. It's not the government, it's not even the banks, it's not the energy companies. The biggest crook in the United States is the American medical industry. This would include doctors, hospitals, medical device companies, clinics, laboratories, and last but not least, the pharmaceutical industry. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the pharmaceutical industry, and I'm going to start off with something that the pharmaceutical industry doesn't like, and that's facts. These are the facts of their criminality. In 2012, GlaxoSmithKline was fined $3 billion. 1 billion of that, and I'm saying billion with a B, not million, billion, was for criminal activity. They violated many statutes, injured many people, killed maybe thousands. There's no way of knowing. Next on the list, in 2009, Pfizer got fined $2.3 billion for kickbacks and defrauding Medicare, as did GlaxoSmithKline. Now, another huge criminal company is Johnson & Johnson. Now, this isn't Johnson Wax. They're good guys. Johnson & Johnson got fined $2.2 billion in 2013 for kickbacks involving the drugs Risperdal and another one, I'm not sure how to say this, Nestitride or something like that, some bullshit name that they give things. Abbott Laboratories in 2012 got fined $1.5 billion for promoting drugs illegally. Eli Lilly, $1.4 billion. Tap Pharmaceuticals for medical fraud, Medicare fraud in their case. They were defrauding Medicare. They got fined $875 million. Amgen, they got fined $762 million for false claims. In some cases, people who work for these companies actually file whistleblower lawsuits against them. Otherwise, these companies will continue stealing, and the list goes on. Merck has been fined several times. The more recent one was in 2008 for $650 million for fraud and kickbacks. And these kickbacks go to doctors and hospitals and hospital administrators, the people that are, filthy rich, the kind of people that you'd like to piss on when you see them, spit in their face, those types of people. These guys make the bankers look like kind of good guys, and the bankers are horrible people, most of them. So I think that you should be informed about this, but you should also know that your own doctor is part of it. He gets the kickbacks. When your doctor has to get his continuing education units, it's paid for by the pharmaceutical industry. Now, in all these cases where there were fines, you think, oh, well, gee, they got fined, that's a good thing. Well, if the people who broke the law actually had to pay a fine or actually went to jail where they belong, because, when people die or are grievously injured by the actions of individuals, that person gets arrested, is put on trial, and if they're found guilty, they go to jail. But when it comes to really rich people, I'm talking the filthy rich, the 1%, they can break the law. They can continue to break the law. They can get away with murder. They can literally get away with murder. I'll say that again. They can literally get away with murder, and they do all the time. So, what can you do about it? Well, the most obvious thing is don't get sick. Don't take, this isn't medical advice, but what I would do is I wouldn't take any medications developed after maybe 1965 or 1970. That's when the industry became extremely criminal. The other thing I would do is not trust my doctor, at least not 100%. I don't trust my doctors at all. I've been injured more by doctors than helped, and I think you probably know a lot of people who've had this happen. In addition to the medical industry being the biggest thief on the planet, it is also the biggest killer. More people are killed in 1 year by the medical industry through adverse drug reactions, through medical errors, through misdiagnosis, through healthcare acquired infections in 1 year than were killed in all the combat deaths in every war America's ever fought in combined. This is how bad it is. Look this stuff up on your own. Don't just take my word for it. Look it up. Doctors alone, are the third leading cause of death in this country. A doctor is more likely to kill you than somebody with a gun, than a homicidal maniac, than a car crash, than cancer, than smoking, than obesity. A doctor is more likely to kill you than any disease. So consider that and try to stay as healthy as you can and try to put these bastards out of business, because the world will be a better place when they're not in business. In the meantime, you can try calling your idiots in Congress and the Senate. I do that quite often. They don't really care because, again, they're part of the most powerful industry in the history of mankind. In fact, nearly 20% of America's gross domestic product, our GDP, 20% of our GDP is healthcare. When we had the best healthcare in the world, 5% of our GDP was healthcare. It's mostly theft, and a big part of that theft is the pharmaceutical industry. Thank you for listening. Stay healthy.